Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, let's do a little bit of a recap of the Watts Bar Bassmaster Open that just ended yesterday for me, but the top 10 are out there fishing right now, and I am really frustrated that I'm not out fishing with them too, because I had a really good opportunity to not only make the top 10, but be in contention in this tournament. And, you know, after practice, I really felt that way. I really felt that I was on the right pattern and in the right areas to potentially, compete to win this tournament. And over the 2 days of competition, I really just did not fish very clean. The first day of the tournament, I came in with 3 fish for 8 pounds. So the right quality, the quality that I knew I was on. And I lost 3 other key fish, including 2 that were like in the 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 pound range. Exactly what I needed to get up to that like 13 pound range that I wanted. And so just lost those fish. And then yesterday, I had a rally day, came in with 14 pounds, 3 ounces, skyrocketed from 79th all the way up to 14th place. But the big bummer is that I lost one in the 3 pound range and one that was in the 4 pound range. And so that would have put me at close to like 17 pounds, one of the bigger bags of the event. So, and I know that a lot of anglers had a similar type of situation, with lost fish and things like that, but it still doesn't make it feel any better when you know you're on the right deal, you get the right bites, and you just don't execute. But, I say that, but for the most part, I just feel like those fish were normal losses, for what I was doing. There was really nothing that I could have done for most of them. There was one fish that I should have, it got tangled up in a vine, and I should have got, in there and gone after it, but instead I just tried to pull it free, and it ended up coming off. So that one was totally preventable and my fault. The other ones, they just happened. So no biggie. We got 14th place. That's a really good finish. We get a check. So I'm going to stop complaining about it now. So let's talk about how I caught the fish in this tournament. So the amazing thing about this event, which was one of the reasons why I thought that I'd have an opportunity to possibly win this tournament, was the fact that not a single boat, and out of 180 boats, this is unheard of, not a single boat was in my areas throughout practice and the event. I was essentially fishing the backs of these creeks on the north end of the lake, and just covering a lot of water with a chatterbait, which we'll go into that in a minute. And fishing a pretty classic early fall pattern where you're following the shad into the backs of the creeks, and the bass are back there with the shad. And so I was just, covering water, hitting key targets in the backs of the creek, and then I'd move on to the next one. And throughout practice and the event, I never saw a single boat in the backs of those creeks. It was incredible. I don't know exactly how the stars aligned that way, but they did. And I really enjoyed not having to share any of the water with anybody. So I essentially in practice realized that even though it was still feeling like summer, it was hot, it was in the 80s, it was sunny and still, the trees were starting to change, and I could follow the shad all the way into the backs of the creeks. There was a lot of shad in those creeks. And so I knew that there was probably a good population of bass back there, and started getting some really good bites once I switched over to the chatterbait. So the chatterbait that really carried me the majority of the way, and I've got one other chatterbait that I caught 1 key fish on, actually a really key fish. But right here is a 1/2 ounce jackhammer in the pearl color. So it's just a regular white chatterbait. And then I used a Diesel Minnows trailer on the back. So instead of using like just a pearl colored trailer, I ended up going with the pearl blue glimmer, which is a little bit more subtle, more realistic. I didn't want something that wasn't suitable for maybe a little bit clearer water. So for the most part, I just kept this one in my hands, especially the first day. This was the only bait that I caught fish on the first day, and just covered water with that white chatterbait with that pearl blue glimmer trailer on it. The rod that I was using for this chatterbait and the other chatterbait I'll show you, which is just a different color, same chatterbait, just different colors. I use the 7.3 medium heavy Versa series rod. You know, you guys have heard me talk about this rod a lot for my chatterbait, swim jig fishing, and a lot of different reaction baits. But that's, I mean, I love this rod. And one of the key things about using the 7.3 medium heavy instead of like a composite that a lot of people like to throw is that I really had to force fish out of cover. That was part of the reason why I lost some fish, is because, you know, when those fish hit, especially those bigger ones, they would pull me into cover, and I needed a little bit more backbone, a lot more backbone, to be able to wrench those fish out of that cover and to lead them to me. And so the 7.3 medium heavy was really important. And then I used a 7.2 to 1 gear ratio VLD10 as my reel, and that was the setup for the chatterbait. And the other chatterbait that I used, which I caught my 4.5 pounder yesterday on, that was pretty exciting. After the first day, you know, I got 2 key bites in clear water. I caught a 3 1/4 on that white chatterbait, and I lost one of those like 2.5 pounders in some clear water. And even though I was getting those bites, I felt like I could probably do better with a more neutral, more natural looking chatterbait. So I went to the natural shad color. So a little bit more transparent skirt material, just looks more realistic as a shad. So I think this is a better choice for, you know, the clear water. Actually, it's called clear water shad. We use the same exact trailer, which pairs really, really well with it. But I just wanted that one for when I pull into some creeks that had a little bit of clear water, and ended up catching that 4.5. It was crazy. That thing just hit it so hard out of nowhere, and it was really hard to catch up with them. Again, a key reason why the 7.3 medium heavy was a big deal. Oh, and I forgot the pound tests. The line that I used for these chatterbaits, I use 20-pound test Seagar Red Label as my line on the chatterbaits. I didn't need any lighter line. I needed a line that could withstand a lot of abuse from being around heavy cover and, you know, making lots of you know, pretty forceful hook sets throughout the day. So the 20-pound test Red Label really held up. One other bait that I ended up finally catching one keeper on was a flipping setup. I used this to catch my 3rd biggest bass of the day. This one right here is the palmetto bugs. You guys are no, you know, this is you're no stranger to the palmetto bugs on this channel, because I've won a lot of money with this bait as a flipping bait. And yeah, so I used the Bama bug color. Go figure, my favorite color. I used the 4/0 Hayabusa 959. I had a 3/8 ounce Fitzgerald flipping weight, worm weight, and also had a flipping bead on there. And I had 22-pound test Seagar Tatsu as my line of choice for flipping. You know, to me, 20-pound test, although very, very strong, if you want to pitch your bait into really dense cover, it gets a little risky, especially if you get a big bite. And then 25 tends to slow the fall rate a little bit too much sometimes. So 22 seems to be like the perfect size overall for flipping wood, for me at least. And then I used a 8.1 to 1 gear ratio VLD10 for that. And then of course the 7.6 heavy action all-purpose series. And that was just for that one fish. You know, every time I'd come to like a tree that just looked right, and it wasn't easy enough to be able to throw the chatterbait next to, like, you know, those trees that are really bushy, the chatterbait just wasn't the right choice for those, because you couldn't run it down right down the trunk of the tree. You had to, like, you know, pitch it in the little openings on the leaves and stuff, and I just didn't have any success doing it that way. But flipping was a better approach. But anyways, guys, that's the tackle that I caught all of my fish on here at Watts Bar. And overall, I think it was a good event. You know, great finish. And although I was frustrated with the way things kind of went down, I was happy that I found the right pattern and had it all to myself. That was pretty awesome. So anyways, guys, we've got the next event at Lake of the Ozarks next week. So we got back-to-back events. It's going to be kind of a bummer to leave my home, because it was really nice to be able to have an event here at home and sleep in my own bed. But we're going to hit the road again. Just had something fall in the garage. We're going to hit the road tomorrow morning, and we will miss one day of practice, but we still got 3.5 days of practice. So the next event coming up, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. So I'm going to see you guys in Missouri. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Trust the process. I'm going to see you out on the water.